Brothers and sisters, don't we want to know what other people say about us, even if we deny it? Aren't we interested in the true thoughts of our family members, neighbors, and friends about ourselves? Even Jesus showed interest in the gossip about himself. Who do people say the Son of Man is? He asked the apostles in today's Gospel. They told him that some people thought he was John the Baptist, maybe because Jesus and John were cousins and had similar preaching style and way of living. There were other people in the society who thought he was Elijah, Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. But it was Peter whose answer was right. You are the Christ, the Son of the living God, he professed. Maybe the other disciples thought to themselves, wow, how did he work it out? At the end, he's only a simple fisherman. But it was Simon, son of Jonah, who named Jesus as Christ, and in return the Lord started to call him Rock, a name that in Aramaic is Kethos, in Latin Petrus, and in Greek Petros. Not only that, Jesus told him that on this rock he will build his church. A fisherman who grew up on the shores of Lake Galilee would become a foundation of the global community of believers. A sinful Peter became the first pope and the leader of the universal church. What a huge honor! My dear friends, we need to understand that Jesus can use any one of us to be his follower and to proclaim his message of salvation to the world. Some of us might be very weak people and even deny Jesus as Peter did. However, what the Lord wants from us is only the trust and humble recognition that we are nothing without him. In our judgmental society, we would like to see different leaders in the church, in the state, in our country, and in the world. They are usually wrong superiors we have to listen to, including our bosses at work, schools, or parishes. We see their lack of ability and weaknesses, not realizing that very often we just project on them our personal issues. Some people will never be happy with decisions made by different agencies regarding important regulations in our societies and church communities. St. Paul wrote in his letter to the Romans these words, "How rich are the depths of God, how deep his wisdom and knowledge, and how impossible to penetrate his motives or understand his methods. Who could ever know the mind of the Lord?" I think we are invited here to embrace God's project of love for us in faith and trust him totally in every aspect of our lives. We will never be able to understand God's ways. Similarly, we are unable to know all the motives and methods used by our leaders. We need to realize that there are many different ways of thinking and dealing with different issues, not necessarily tuned to our way of resolving problems. Jesus chose Peter to be the first pope of the church. The other apostles could have said it was a wrong choice. He wasn't clever enough to be our leader. But Jesus knew what he was doing. Peter had unseen qualities known only to the Lord to be able to lead the church. For example, he had a gift of openness to God's revelations. Jesus said, "Simon, son of Jonah, you are a happy man, because it was not flesh and blood that revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven." That was one of the reasons why he was given the keys of the kingdom of heaven. What was that all about? Jesus explained it very clearly. Whatever you bind on earth shall be considered bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth shall be considered loosed in heaven. These words are incredible. Many people don't want to accept them, even now, 2000 years later. But we know that Pope, bishops, priests and deacons have the spiritual authority in the Church given to them by Jesus himself. Let us pray for a gift of obedience to Jesus' teaching and for humility in our profession of faith.